Hello Bobcats, today we're going to be learning how to convert a fraction into a percent. A quick review. A percent, I want you to think about a percent as always being out of 100. So on your notes, make sure that you write the 100. Okay, you always have to think that percent is always out of 100. That's going to make it easier for us. Okay, now how do we change a fraction into a percent? Well, the first thing we have to remember is that we have to write an equivalent fraction that has a denominator of 100. Okay, so if we have a fraction, for example here, I have 9 over 20 or 9/20ths. Okay, I have to make sure that I convert my denominator into a 100 because, like I mentioned before, a percent is always out of 100. So I need a 100 in order to convert it to a percent. So I have to use a scale factor. So what number can I multiply by 20 to make 100? That's my goal. I need to make this 100. So what number can I multiply? Well, I can use times 5. 20 times 5 gives me 100. Now what I do to my bottom number, I must also do to my numerator, which is my top number. So I multiply the denominator by 5, so I multiply the numerator by 5. And 9 times 5 equals 45. Therefore, my percent is 45% because the 45 is out of 100, 45%. Our second example here is a little bit different because, as you can see, there's nothing that I can multiply by the 35 to equal 100. So in this case, I have to work a little like backwards, okay? So I'm going to simplify my fraction first. I'm going to simplify my fraction first in order to get a denominator that can easily be multiplied to make 100. Okay, so I need to find a number that can be divided easily between the 21 and the 35, and that number is going to be 7. So 21 divided by 7 gives me 3. 35 divided by 7 gives me 5. Oh look, now we have a 5. A 5 can easily be multiplied by, you're right, 20 to make 100. Remember, our goal is to get our denominator to be 100. So now what I do to my bottom, I must do to the top. I multiplied 5 times 20 to get 100, so I multiplied 3 times 20, and that gives me 60. And this is 60%. Okay, we also have the 8s. Again, just like this second problem, our 8s are a little bit special because 8 times nothing gives me 100. Okay, so when you think about 8s, I want you to think of this magic number when you're working with an 8 as your denominator. Okay, I want you to think of times 125. That's going to be your magic number. 8 times 125 equals 1,000. Now I know it's not 100, but when we're working with our 8s, this is our magic number. 8 times 125 equals 1,000. Same rule. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 125. So 1 times 125 equals 125. So now this, I cannot write 125% because it's not out of 100, it's out of 1,000. So if I were to write this as a decimal, I would write 125 thousandths. Okay, and then how to convert this into a percent? Well, we think of Dr. Pepper, decimal to percent. We go 1, 2 times to the right. So I go 1, 2 times to the right, and that makes 12.5%. Alright, and now we have our mixed numbers. So when we're working with mixed numbers, I want you to go around the world. And what you do with this is you take your denominator and you multiply your whole number, and then you add your numerator. You go around the world. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. 8 plus 3 gives me 11. And we keep the same denominator. So here you have 11 over 4. Again, to find the percent, I need it to be out of 100. So I need to find a scale factor. So 4 times what gives me 100? Well, 25. Okay, so what I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 11 times 25 gives me, okay, well that's a little bit larger number, so we can just do the math on the side. So 25 times 11. 1 times 5, 5. 1 times 2, 2. 0. 1 times 5. Don't forget your placeholder. 1 times 5, 5. And then 1 times 1. Sorry, 1 times 2, 2. Alright, so I get 275. Oh, and it's out of 100. So my percent is 275%. Now, if we also could think about this a different form. You probably know that 3/4 is equal to 75, right? And you know that 1 whole equals 100. Well, if we think 2 wholes must equal 200, and that's another way we could think of the 2 3/4 as a percent. Okay, now I want you to pause the video, and on your notes I want you to convert all of these 4 fractions into a percent. Okay, go ahead and check your work. So if your answer is not the same as my answer, then please pause the video and double check your work and see where you made your mistake and try to correct it on your paper. Okay, if you got them all correct, very well, very good job. And now let's move on. Now we're going to convert a percent into a fraction. So this one is also very similar to the one we just did. So now we're going from percent to decimal. And you have to make the fraction by writing the percent number over 100. Again, guys, remember, percent is always out of 100. Whenever you see the word percent, always think out of 100. So this is 30%. Okay, so percent is out of what? Well, it's out of 100. So I write it 30 over 100. And there, I have my fraction. But now we also have to think of always simplifying our fractions. Here I have my numerator that has a 0, and my denominator that has a 0. So I could always cancel these out, and it is equivalent to 3 tenths. Okay, or I could have divided by 10. Okay, here I have 65%. Again, you write as a fraction, 65 over 100. Okay, and now you divide. Well, since my 65, my numerator ends with a 5, my denominator ends with a 0, I can easily divide these two by 5s. Okay, we divide by 5. 65 divided by 5 gives me 13, and 100 divided by 5 gives me 20. Since I cannot simplify anymore, then this would be my simplest fraction. So 65% is equivalent to 13 over 20th. Okay, here, now we have 125%. Again, you write it over 100, so you have 125 over 100. Again, think small, simplify. Okay, well I can simplify this by 5. And I know that 100 divided by 5 gives me 20, and 125 divided by 5 gives me 25. Okay, now this I can simplify again because it ends with the 5 and it ends with the 0. So again, I can use my rules and think of, okay, they both end with the 5 and the 0, so I can divide by 5. So 25 divided by 5 is 5, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. Okay, well here I can't simplify anymore, so my fraction would be 5 over 4. Now this is an improper fraction, okay, but we're gonna leave it like this for now. And same thing with this one, with the last example. 104 over 100. Again, we simplify, and then we simplify until we have our lowest form. So I have my 104 and 100, and these are both even numbers. So since they're even numbers, they're both divisible by 2. That gives me 52. And then 100 divided by 100 divided by 2 gives me 50. Again, I have even numbers, so I continue to divide by 2. I have 50 divided by 2 gives me 25. 52 divided by 2 gives me 26. Okay, now I want you to try these examples, and once you get the answers, then I want you to check and we'll be back. Okay, go ahead and double check your answers. If your answers do not match mine, then please pause the video and see where you probably made your mistake. If you have questions, then please ask one of your teachers. Thank you guys.